The auction of the unwanted, the space station market reeked of desperation and cruelty. Buyers from a dozen star systems crowded the auction floor, their eyes cold as they assessed the merchandise living beings treated as property. In the center, caged stood two sisters, the last of their kind. Nira, the elder, stood protectively beside her sister Sira. Their pale blue skin shimmered under the harsh lights, delicate tendrils framing their faces where human hair would be. "Next lot," bellowed the auctioneer, a bulky Draxian with yellowed tusks. "Two Lumori, females. Last of their species after the Confederation bombing of their homeworld." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Lumeri were known for their empathic abilities, useless for labor or combat. "To fragile," sneered a reptilian trader. "Break them in a week." "The little one looks sickly," another called out. "And the tall one's got a temper. Not worth feeding." Nira's jaw tightened. She'd spent years protecting Sira after their parents died in the bombing. They'd survived refugee camps, smugglers, and now this degradation. No bids? None at all? The auctioneer looked incredulous. "Fine, moving to the next. I'll take them." The voice cut through the noise. A human man stepped forward, tall and weather-worn. His dark skin bore the marks of old scars, and his eyes sharp. Calculating surveyed the sisters without the usual predatory gleam of buyers. "Captain Darius Wade," he introduced himself, tossing a credit chip to the auctioneer. "That should cover it." The crowd laughed. "Humans and their charity cases," someone muttered. "Those Lumari are worthless." Darius didn't respond. He simply waited as the cage door opened and gestured for the sisters to follow. Nira hesitated, placing herself between the human and Sira. "Why?" she demanded, her voice barely audible. "Does it matter?" he replied. "Unless you prefer staying here." Sira tugged at her sister's arm. "Nira, please." Outside the auction hall, Darius led them through crowded corridors toward the docking bay. Neither sister spoke until they reached his ship, a compact vessel, bearing the scars of many journeys. "I'm not naive," Nira finally said as the airlock closed behind them. "What do you want from us?" Darius paused, studying her. "Your people had abilities beyond empathy." Abilities the Confederation feared. Sira's eyes widened. "How would you know that?" "Because I was there when they bombed Lumar." His voice carried no emotion. "I was a Confederation pilot." Nira lunged forward, fingers curling into claws, but Darius didn't flinch. "I defected that day," he continued quietly. "I've spent 7 years trying to atone." Proximity alarm blared. Darius moved swiftly to the cockpit. "We have company," he called over his shoulder. "Bounty hunters. They track rare species. You brought them to us?" Nira accused. "No." Darius's hands flew over the controls. "But I'm getting you away from them. Strap in." As the ship shuddered into motion, Sira whispered, "What if he's lying?" Nira watched the human's determined profile. "Then we'll have to survive him too." Flight through the nebula. The ship lurched as another blast struck its shields. Darius's hands danced across the controls with practiced efficiency, his face illuminated by warning lights. "The Crimson Nebula," he announced, pointing to the swirling red mass ahead. "Their sensors won't track us inside." Nira held Sira close as the vessel plunged into crimson clouds. The pursuing ships hesitated at the nebula's edge. Few pilots dared navigate its magnetic disturbances. "You seem familiar with dangerous places," Nira observed. Darius's mouth twitched. Necessity teaches quickly. When the immediate danger passed, he activated the autopilot and turned to face them. "You should eat. There's food in the galley." The sisters followed him to a small kitchen area. Sira touched the wall, her tendrils glowing faintly. "Your ship is sad," she murmured. "It's seen much loss." Darius stiffened. "Ships don't feel. Lumori sense emotions," Nira explained reluctantly. "Even residual ones. It's why the Confederation feared us." "Mind readers?" He passed them nutrient packs. "No," Nira corrected. "We feel emotions, not thoughts." "And some of us can ... double quotes can what?" Darius prompted when she fell silent. Sira answered for her. Some can influence emotions. Calm aggression. Ease suffering. She gazed at her sister. Nira can. I can't. The humans studied them with new understanding. The Confederation executed empaths during the war, called them biological weapons. We weren't weapons, Nira snapped. We were healers. Darius nodded. I know that now. He hesitated before adding, I transported prisoners once. Saw what they did to a Lumar healer. That's when I questioned my orders. The ship rumbled as it navigated the nebula's currents. Sira, exhausted, soon fell asleep against her sister's shoulder. Where are you taking us? Nira asked quietly. Hidden colony for refugees? Darius checked the navigation system. 3 days' journey if we're not detected, and after? What do you want from us? His expression softened slightly. Nothing. You'll be free there, protected. Why risk yourself for strangers? For a species you helped to destroy? Pain flashed across his face. Because some debts can never be repaid. They sat in silence until Darius stood. You should rest. I'll wake you if there's trouble. Later, when both sisters lay in the small crew quarters, Sira whispered, his regret is genuine. Nira, I can feel it. Regret doesn't bring back our world, Nira replied. No, Sira agreed. But it might bring him peace to save what remains. Nira turned away. I don't care about his peace. But as sleep claimed her, she wondered about the human who defied his people to save theirs. The empathic tendrils at her temples glowed softly, unconsciously reaching toward the cockpit where Darius kept his lonely vigil, in the darkness of space. Their small ship carried its wounded cargo two sisters believed worthless by the universe, and a man whose worth was measured in the lives he tried to save. The sanctuary moon dawn broke over the sanctuary moon, bathing its forested surface in golden light. From the landing pad, Nira could see structures blended skillfully with the natural landscape homes, built into hillsides and suspended among ancient trees. Welcome to Haven, Darius said, standing beside her. Population 218. Now 220. Sira emerged from the ship, eyes wide with wonder. It's beautiful. A small delegation approached a six-limbed Trescian elder, a pair of humanoid Ventari, and several other species Nira couldn't immediately identify. None showed the fear or contempt she'd grown accustomed to seeing. These are the Lumar you mentioned. The Tressian asked Darius. Yes, Elder Jorith. Nira and Sira. We thought your kind extinct, Jorith said, bowing deeply. Your presence honors us. The sisters were shown to a small dwelling nestled against a hillside. It had been prepared with fresh bedding, food, and clean clothing, Darius advised. Tomorrow we begin training. Training for what? Nira asked. Survival. His expression darkened. The hunters who pursued us, they'll keep looking. Everyone here learns to defend themselves. Over the following weeks, Nira and Sira adapted to life in Haven. Mornings were spent in combat training. Afternoons learning the settlement systems and routines. Darius proved a patient teacher. He showed Nira how to handle various weapons, though she preferred the staff and extension of her body that required no killing. You're holding back, he observed during one session, catching her staff with his own. Your abilities could be an advantage. Nira disengaged, circling warily. I don't use my gift as a weapon, not asking you to, he advanced, testing her defenses. But feeling your opponent's emotions could help anticipate their moves. She swept his legs unexpectedly, sending him sprawling. Like that? Darius laughed, the first genuine laugh she'd heard from him. Something warm unfurled in her chest at the sound. Later, watching the twin suns set from a ridge overlooking the settlement, Nira sensed his approach before hearing his footsteps. Sira's getting stronger, he remarked, sitting beside her. The medical center values her help. Nira nodded. Her sister's gentle empathy made her perfect for healing work. She feels purposeful here. Safe. And you? Darius asked quietly. I feel... ... She hesitated, unused to considering her own feelings. Less angry. Smile was slight but genuine. Progress. Impulsively, she reached out, her tendrils glowing as she brushed his hand. The contact sent a flood of emotions through her, his determination, his guilt, but also something warmer directed at her. Darius remained still, letting her feel what he couldn't express in words. "You carry too much," she whispered. "So do you." When their fingers interlaced, neither acknowledged the significance aloud, but something fundamental had shifted between them, the rescuer and the rescued finding unexpected connection. Neither noticed the shadowy figure watching from the tree line, recording their interaction before slipping away toward the communications array. Betrayal in the shadows, the alarm shattered the pre-dawn stillness. Nira bolted upright, instinctively reaching for her staff as Darius burst into their dwelling. "Hunter ships," he explained tersely. "3 of them, approaching fast." Sira emerged from her room, face pale. "How did they find us?" "Someone betrayed us." Darius's expression was grim. The settlement's scrambling evacuation protocols, they hurried outside into chaos. Residents rushed toward shelters and ships, while security forces mobilized defenses. Elder Jorith intercepted them. The communications array was compromised. Someone transmitted coordinates. "Who?" demanded Darius. "Unknown. But they accessed the system using your authorization codes." Darius went rigid. Nira felt the shock and betrayal radiating from him like physical heat. "It wasn't him," she stated firmly, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. "Perhaps not," Jorith conceded. "But the hunters will be here within minutes. The vulnerable must evacuate immediately." Darius turned to the sisters. "Take the emergency shuttle. Coordinates are pre-programmed for another sanctuary. You're not coming?" Sira asked. "I'm staying to help the defense." His eyes met Nira's. "Keep her safe." The ground trembled as the first bombardment struck Haven's outer shields. "Go," Darius urged, pressing a small transmitter into Nira's hand. "I'll find you." They ran toward the emergency hangars, joining other evacuees. The shuttle was nearly loaded when Sira suddenly stopped. "The medical center," she gasped. "The patients, someone needs to help them." Before Nira could react, Sira turned and sprinted back toward the settlement core. "Sira." Nira chased after her sister, heart pounding. They reached the medical center as another blast rocked the ground. Inside, medical staff struggled to evacuate immobile patients. "Help me," Sira pleaded. And Nira couldn't refuse. They had transferred the last patient to a transport when the ceiling partially collapsed. Nira shoved Sira toward the door just as a hunter squad breached the perimeter. "Run," she commanded. "Get to the shuttle." Sira hesitated only a moment before fleeing. Nira turned to face the intruders. "Staff ready." The lead hunter, a scarred Vroxian, smiled coldly. "Illumary. Rare prize." She fought with everything Darius had taught her, staff whirling, using her empathic sense to anticipate attacks. But they were too many. A stun blast caught her shoulder. As consciousness faded, she saw Darius rushing toward her, shouting her name. Then another blast struck him, and darkness claimed her. She awoke on the shuttle, Sira's tear-streaked face hovering above her. "They took him," her sister sobbed. "The hunters captured Darius while saving me." Nira struggled upright, pain lancing through her. "Where's the transmitter he gave me?" Sira pressed it into her palm. When activated, it displayed coordinates not to another sanctuary, but to the hunter's main base, he knew Nira realized. He knew there was a traitor, and prepared for this. She addressed the frightened evacuees. "I'm going after him." "Suicide," someone objected. Nira stood, determination hardening her features. "He saw value in us, when no one else did. Now I see his." Worth fighting forth, Hunter Fortress loomed against the asteroid belt, a jagged metal construct bristling with weapon emplacements. Nira studied it from the small infiltration craft she'd commandeered Sira beside her. "Their defenses are focused outward," Nira noted. "Service docks underneath are less guarded." "You're really going in there?" Sira's voice quavered. "We both are." Nira squeezed her sister's hand. "Your medical skills for Darius? My abilities for protection?" The sisters had spent 3 days planning this rescue, gathering intelligence from Haven survivors who knew the hunters' operations. Now disguised as maintenance workers, they guided their craft toward the underbelly of the fortress. Remember, Nira instructed as they docked. Feel everything, show nothing. They navigated service corridors. Nira's empathic senses stretched to their limit to detect approaching threats. Twice they narrowly avoided patrols. Holding cells should be 2 levels up, Sira whispered. They located a maintenance shaft and climbed. At the detention level, Nira pressed her palms against the wall, tendrils glowing as she searched for Darius's emotional signature. There, she breathed. Northwest quadrant. He's alive, but in pain. Moving carefully, they reached the high-security section. 2 guards blocked the entrance. Now, Nira murmured, closing her eyes. For the first time, she deliberately projected her empathic ability as a weapon. Waves of overwhelming drowsiness flowed from her toward the guards, who struggled briefly before slumping unconscious. It worked, Sira gasped. Quickly, it won't last long. Inside, they found Darius chained to an interrogation frame, bloodied but conscious. His eyes widened when he saw them. You shouldn't be here, he rasped, as Sira worked to free him. Neither should you, Nira replied, supporting his weight as he stumbled forward. An alarm blared. Intruder alert. Detention level breach? They hurried toward the maintenance shaft, Darius growing stronger with each step. At a junction, he stopped them. The control room is 1 level up, he said. They have a database of trafficking victims, including more Lumori. Nira hesitated only briefly. Show me. Leaving Sira hidden with a stunner, they ascended to the command level. The corridor ended at a heavily secured door. I can't break that encryption, Darius admitted. Nira stepped forward. You don't need to. She placed her hand on the security panel, focusing on the technician she sensed inside. Projecting calm and trust through the door, she felt the person's suspicion fade. The door slid open. A startled technician turned as they entered. Before he could react, Nira intensified her empathic projection until he peacefully slumped in his chair. Impressive, Darius murmured. Moving to the central console, he downloaded the database while Nira stood guard. Done. Now the main door burst open. The scarred Vraxian hunter commander entered, weapon raised. The defector and his pet empath, he sneered. How touching. Nira stepped forward, drawing on her abilities more deeply than ever before. The commander's sneer faltered as she bombarded him with his own suppressed emotions. Fear, doubt, and buried shame. You call us worthless, she said quietly, advancing as he stumbled back. Yet you hunt us, value us, fear us. The commander fired wildly, missing as Darius tackled him. They struggled briefly before Darius rendered him unconscious. We need to move, he urged. Grabbing Nira's hand, they collected Sira and fought their way back to their ship. The fortress, now in chaos, as contradictory orders spread through the ranks, as their ship broke free. Pursued by hunter vessels, Darius grimaced at the navigation console. They've damaged our hyperdrive. We can't outrun them. Nira exchanged a look with Sira. We don't need to outrun them. The sisters joined hands, their tendrils luminous. Together they projected a wave of disorientation toward their pursuers, not just emotion, but a psychic disruption that scrambled sensors and confused pilots. The hunter ships veered wildly, firing at shadows while their actual quarry slipped away. Hours later, safely hidden in a nebula cloud, Darius approached Nira on the observation deck. You saved all of us, he said softly. The database shows 17 more Lumar held in various outposts. Your people aren't extinct, Nira. Joy and hope flooded through her. We can rescue them? We will. Darius took her hand, his feelings flowing freely to her empathic sense of admiration, respect, and something deeper that made her tendrils glow. They called you worthless, but I always knew what you were worth fighting for. When he leaned in to kiss her, Nira's empathic abilities projected their shared emotions throughout the ship: hope, determination, and the promise of a future where no one would be called worthless again. On the bridge, Sira smiled as she set course for the nearest sanctuary, feeling the bond between her sister and the human who had seen their true worth when no one else would.